Hey there, Saguto golfers. Tom Saguto here, PGA member and founder of SagutoGolf. And in this episode, we're going to break down the entire golf downswing into one simple drill. Let's get started. You see this watermelon over here? Say hello, watermelon. Hello, how are you doing today? It's going to show us everything we need to know about the downswing. And here's why. I get people ask me questions all the time. And this is the most common question I get. How do you start the downswing? What initiates a downswing? What do you do halfway through your downswing? What do you do 3/4 of the way through your downswing? What do you do at the bottom of the downswing? Everything usually ties around the downswing. I'm just going to answer every question in this one episode. So you're about to learn everything you need to know about the downswing. We're going to use a watermelon to show you exactly how to do the downswing in one easy drill. This is probably the simplest downswing drill of all time. And then you're also going to learn about how the pros start the downswing, which all ties back to this beautiful little watermelon right here. Before we get started, subscribe to this channel if you want to experience the best ball striking of your life, because I'm going to help you get there in a body-friendly and simplified manner. Just a little prerequisite here before we begin. Buy a watermelon. You're going to need it for this drill. It's really going to help you understand the downswing in a whole new light. Plus, even after this drill works for you, you can go eat the watermelon, which is two big bonuses in one. You're going to learn the downswing and you're going to have a watermelon that you can eat later. Let's kick this episode off by understanding how the body works in the downswing and what the club is doing and what it should be doing on the way down. If you watched the Arnold Palmer episode last week, you'll understand that the torso turn is key to getting a solid backswing, and that pointing that lead shoulder down towards the ball helps the entire body turn over the golf ball, keep you in one spot, one point of contact every single time. It's a fantastic tip. Go check it out now if you haven't seen it already. But it plays a huge role in the downswing. I mentioned this torso turn, taking the torso and turning it away from the target like this, keeping the lead shoulder down. Well, on the downswing, we do the opposite. We turn the torso back toward the target. And though I'm feeling the torso turning, what's happening is the downswing works automatically. And that's good because you don't have to think about it. Thinking kills downswing. What is the purpose of the downswing? To hit the golf ball. But we also want to hit the golf ball powerfully and accurately. So we need the club to be able to travel on a predictable path to the golf ball that allows us to hit it with tons of power, like that, like high-fiving yourself. Not like the chopping that we talk about all the time. That weak high five, that chop and loop and stupid move like this. I'm tired of seeing that move. If everybody fixed that move, the average golfer would shoot at least in the 80s, if not better. We need the club to approach the golf ball from an efficient, powerful angle. So what's that angle? Well, there's an imaginary line going through the shaft of the club through my belt line here. It's called the shaft plane. We take the club back up on that line in the backswing, and on the downswing, we should rejoin that line. And why do we do that? Well, it's the most efficient route to the ball. The golf swing's a circle. So naturally, I should return the club on this line because it's the most direct route to the ball. It's also the route that allows me to hit it like this, very powerfully. You want that back of your trail hand coming into the golf ball like you're punching a hole through a wall, you're hitting hammer with a nail. Yeah, powerful. For you to hit the ball directly with as much power and accuracy as possible, joining that beautiful path I just described, you must initiate the downswing, moving the lead hip laterally towards the target. This is what happens when we make that motion. When I take the club back and I initiate with lateral movement, you see the club immediately begins going through the mid to lower section of my back. That's the proper path to the golf ball. It's the most direct route to the golf ball. And from this point, the club will slingshot from here into the golf ball. It's got a lot of ground to cover in a short period of time. The more ground you can cover in a short period of time, the faster that club has to move, so more power for you. And it's also on the proper path, meaning that you don't have to rely on using your hands so much. You can just hit the ball hard from there. That's why Ben Hogan said if he started the downswing correctly, he wished he had 3 right hands because he could just hit it as hard as he wanted from that position. We're not playing catch up with anything. We're not rolling our hands or doing any lopping and looping. We're just going right to the ball and we're sending it. The sequencing of the downswing is as follows. Torso turn in the backswing, I begin turning back toward the target. You start seeing the lower body initiate. Even though I feel the torso going first, the lower body is initiating because it's a chain reaction. It's a chain reaction to this motion here. I've got this turn. As I start turning back with my upper chest, the lower body moves toward the target, but the hips also turn torso aside, we've got two lower body forces here at work. We've got the lateral motion of the hips initiating the downswing, and then secondly, we've got the turning of the hips. Two forces. The game gets really complicated at this point for a lot of people because you start thinking about how you combine these forces into one. And yes, it gets really complicated if you're trying to work on two forces at one time. That's why I've got this awesome drill for you with this watermelon over here, because I don't want you thinking that much going into downswing. The downswing is so much simpler than trying to combine a ton of forces at one time. Now that I've mentioned those two forces, the lateral motion of the hips toward the target, as well as the turning of the hips, I want you to understand what each move does in the golf swing, because it has a huge effect on the way the club head works. What I want you to understand here is that the club path can be adversely affected by the way the downswing is initiated with that lower body. Now keep in mind, your downswing will initiate properly if you just turn your torso back toward the target. That's one great thought for the downswing, but I'm going to break it down right here for you so you can understand it. The first motion I want to talk about is the lateral motion. This is the initial move of the downswing. It's essential to have all pros start with lateral motion toward the target. All amateurs conversely start with rotation. Everybody thinks rotate the hips off the golf ball, and this causes a ton of problems. If you do not start the downswing with a lateral hip move, you're doomed to fail. I don't know what to tell you. It's doomed. It's already downhill. You're going to fail. Here's what the lateral motion does in your golf swing. Not only does it provide the in to out path of the club, it also allows the club to drop. That's a natural reaction to me doing this. Allows the club to drop, and it retains a ton of power potential here between your lead arm and the club. Think about this. Lateral means club falls and brings my path out to right field here, in to out. The next force I want to talk about is the rotation of the hips. So we got the lateral motion, now we got the rotation of the hips. The sequence of the downswing is lateral, then rotate. You need that sequence to be successful in the golf swing. What you find is amateurs initiate their downswing by rotating, and this causes a ton of your problems. It's no secret as to why you're chopping all day long, because rotation does this in your golf swing. As I rotate my hips, the club is pulled over. That's the natural reaction. That's how the club works. So if I rotate, club goes over. If you do this at the start of the downswing, over and chop. Over and chop all day long. Ugly, ugly, ugly. You don't want to do that anymore. You want to hit it powerfully and directly like this. So we're going to get rid of the chopping and start hitting the ball more directly. So rotation plays a vital role in the downswing. It just should never be used at the beginning because it pulls the club over through the upper part of your back and chopping into the ball down, throwing all your energy straight into the ground, which means you belong in the forestry industry because you're just a chopper. When you sequence your lower body properly in the downswing, all of the magic happens for you. Lateral motion of the lower body starting the downswing to here, retaining all of this beautiful power, this angle to my left arm and the club shaft, all of that lag as people call it. And then I turn my hips into impact, and you see, look at this proper impact position. The hands ahead of the golf ball, the hands ahead of the club head. It's not some magically manufactured position. I'm not forcing the club there. It gets there naturally if I start the downswing the proper way. Lateral to here, turn, hips. There's the magic of the downswing right there all day long. It's the same path to the golf ball every single time. It's consistent. So we go to the top of the backswing, and then we start the downswing by moving our hips laterally toward the target, presetting the proper downswing path here. Club going through the middle lower section of my back, and then we turn our hips to impact, and that gets you at impact with the proper position, and we turn through to our finish. Seems so simple that way, right? It's going to be even simpler when I get this watermelon drill out for you. To sum up the downswing motion in a couple of key points, remember these things. Downswing's initiated by the hips moving toward the target first, so laterally. And then secondly, the hips rotate, bringing the club into impact with this beautiful hands forward position. The lateral motion of the hips sets the club on the proper in to out path to create a draw, or the proper path to the ball for most power and consistency down here. And then we turn the hips into impact, sending the ball to the target with as much power as possible. Lateral motion controls the in to out path. Rotation, if done, brings the club over. So you can see how when I move the hips toward the target, we need the club to work down first, and then we turn the hips to get the club to work over. So we've got the down and over combined in with the lateral and the rotation. Now that you've been armed with all this powerful downswing information, it is time to grab the watermelon. Here we go. This drill will take care of everything. This is the move I want us to work on. Because if you learn movement in the golf swing, the club and the ball, it all takes care of itself. You learn the movement first, don't think about the position. Movement creates the position. Let's go. The proper downswing sequencing is this. What I want you to do with your weighted object, I want you to imagine this if you don't have one. You're going to try and throw this heavy watermelon type object as far as you can to the target. For you to do this, you must make the proper downswing motions, and it will happen if you focus on the movement. So grab the watermelon right now. Okay, I've got this watermelon. Now, I want to imagine I'm going to heave it as far as possible to my target. For me to do that, you got to use the weight of the watermelon. So we turn our torso to the right, I'm going to heave it and then go whew, whew, heavy object. This is the first time this has ever been done, by the way. I will not throw the watermelon because I want to eat it later, not now. So just the feeling of this weight, we're taking it back here, and then you want to send it to the target. The weight automatically gets the hips moving laterally and turning because you're focusing on sending the energy to the target. We're not trying to, you wouldn't chop with a watermelon. Holy crap, that's heavy. You wouldn't do that. That's an idiotic move. So feeling the weight of the watermelon gets the club on the proper path and gets the downswing working the right way, simply because this weight, and if you want to send something this heavy to your target, you've got to make that motion. If you got something heavy, just simply bring it back and try and chuck it to the target. And now you can probably see why your downswing isn't working. Because if you're a chopper and you've got a heavy object, the most work possible is doing this. Lifting it up, throwing it down. It's a lot of work. Ooh, it's not efficient. But this is because it's the only route you're letting the weight do the work. And for you to make this watermelon go farther to your target, you've got to rotate your hips to get out of the way. So you're just training all the motions. They're all happening here. Just trying to throw this watermelon as far as I can to the target. You're using the weight. Turn my torso, everything works. You get not only the lateral motion, but you also get the turning of the hips and the extending, which is key for creating as much power as possible. The watermelon in one little drill teach you an entire downswing. Not only that, gives you some seriously big forearms too. In order to protect the watermelon from further destruction, I've got a basketball here. This works out just as well. If I want to throw a basketball as far as possible to my target, I would do this. As you can see, what happens naturally is that if I'm trying to heave this massive object to my target, you see the proper lateral motion first, then you see the rotation, and then the extension. And this is exactly what should happen in the golf swing, in one simple move. So how do we do the drill here? It's really simple. Just get an object and just try and send it to the target. It doesn't have to be thrown extremely hard, but your whole idea is you want to send it to the target, and look at the natural motion my body makes. It's all the golf swing in one simple drill right there. Yes, yes. You wouldn't try and throw a basketball with two hands like this. That's the chop. That's what you guys are doing right now. Now you know why you're lacking distance and power and consistency, because that doesn't work. No, for you to truly send it with speed, you need to go. Oh, that's awesome. I love when things like this come together in golf. Golf is so much simpler than we make it. Humans ruin things. I tell you, humans make things so complicated. All we need to do is get a basketball or a watermelon to teach you everything about the golf swing. Now that we're armed with that information, let's execute it. Imagine you're holding this watermelon and we're starting at a micro level here. Right there, you can feel it. I'm heaving the watermelon. So imagine I'm holding the watermelon, we're going back about this far and chucking it to the target. Focus on the motion. Don't care about the results. You're making a change. It's going to feel weird. But I guarantee if you stick with this change, you'll play your best golf right now. Oh, that felt good. With that in mind, you can really pick up some speed because you're focusing on heaving the watermelon to the target as hard as possible, which means you're going to send the club faster because you're trying to give it something and you're not chopping. So, watermelon. Okay? Watermelon. I really love this technique. It just creates so much power. You might be surprised by how much speed you're creating. Here, let's heave it again. And then once you've done that a couple of times, time to break it out into a full swing. Break it out into singing. I figured out the downswing. Now, make some full swings. The same rules apply. We're chucking a watermelon to the target. We're chucking a golf club to the target. It's all the same. You got a weighted object. You got a weighted object. You're trying to send it that way. And the only way you can do it powerfully is this way. The drill. Here we go. I guarantee if you do this, you're going to play your best golf right now. What are you waiting for? Waiting for the cows to come home? Last time I checked, they're still coming. Time for some down the line action. I want you to see how this all affects the downswing from this angle. Remember, club or watermelon coming through the middle lower part of your back here, not over. This is the weakest way to play golf. This is the most powerful way. Chuck the ball to the target. We're going to heave it back, feel the weight, and then I'm going to throw it forward. And if you can do that move and get it right in the center of the target, in the center of that bullseye there, you're doing it. You're doing it. The downswing's working. Check it out. It's the magic of the golf swing. Do that a bunch of times. Don't even hit a golf ball. Just do it. What are you waiting for? All the moves are getting collected into one here. Get excited about your downswing again. And then we go back into hitting a golf ball. Heave it. So now I'm envisioning, once again, got the watermelon, I'm chucking it to the target. Same motion. Arm staying straight here and straight through. Heave it. It's that same exact motion. Then we go into the full swing right here. Show it who's boss.
You're fired.
Feels so good. That's crispier than KFC. Woo! Yeah. I can feel the power. I've got the power. Yeah, power. Now, if you want to learn more about the downswing, stay tuned. I've got a full feature presentation showing you how the pros do it. And you're going to find it's oddly similar to what's going on right here with that watermelon. Thank you, watermelon, for participating, by the way. All right, Seguto golfers, we're not going to let a little bit of rain slow us down. So we're right here in the hot seat, taking a look at some Tour Pro swings, showing you the exact same downswing maneuvers, so you can go out there in the course, have the best downswing ever, just by chucking a watermelon toward the target. Okay. Tour pros, no matter what system they swing on or what method or whatever, doesn't matter. They all start the downswing the same way. Lateral motion toward the target, hip turn afterwards. They all do this move. It puts the club on the proper path going down, and that's why it's so consistent. Everybody does it. It's the most powerful, consistent way to play good golf. Here's Adam Scott, somebody I would consider to be a very traditional type of golf swing because he has the shift of the weight and the lifting. Not something I would go about teaching, but you're going to find a lot of similarities here. I'm drawing an imaginary wall on his left side, and that's going to represent where the hips are going to go through. The hips, tour average wise, are going to move about 6 to 9 inches left from his side while keeping the head in place. Let's go through his swing. Top of backswing, he's got a little bit of that shift, but we're going to see a similar starting of the downswing. Watch the lateral motion of the hips. Going through that wall already. While the head, his head's moved a little bit out of his circle, but for the most part it's staying back. And he continues moving laterally till about this point. So that's the max out of the lateral motion. So figure about, for him, maybe 3 or 4 inches of lateral hip motion before he starts turning the hips. You got to move lateral first to get the club in the proper place. So they move fully lateral from that start position on that yellow line all the way over to that left pocket there into impact. That's a lot of lateral motion. You got to start downswing that way, and then the turn happens the last quarter of the downswing, but only then. Let's move to somebody else now. Let's go to one of my next favorites, Mr. Ben Hogan. He tilts a little bit away here with his driver, so he's preset his hips a few inches off of that wall, but you're still going to find the same thing happen here, the same theme in the downswing. Top, watch the hips. Lateral, 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 lateral. All the way through. They continue moving lateral through here, and then they start turning. So he's moved those hips quite a bit forward at the start of the downswing, and this is why he said if he started the downswing correctly, he could hit it as hard as he wanted to. Another player, Charlie Hoffman. Even though there's a little bit of shift off the ball in the backswing, you're still going to see hip motion toward the target to start. Busting through that wall, chucking the watermelon, and then they turn. Lateral first, then turn. Dustin Johnson. Check this out. They all do this move. It puts the club on the proper path going down. Look at those hips busting through the wall. Then they rotate. Doesn't matter who it is. The hips got to bust through that wall. They got to start lateral. Next up, we got Grant Waite. He's got one of the best swings in golf. Tiger Woods even said that. Here we go. Got the imaginary wall. Watch this. Lateral, lateral, lateral. All the way down to here. That's a really nice lower body movement. He's got about 6 inches toward the target, and then he's going to turn those hips. It's only at this point you see the fuller hip turn. A lot later in the downswing than you think. You got to move lateral first, then turn the hips. Chuck the watermelon. Rombo. Go about teaching. Short backswing. Doesn't matter what kind of swing he has. Start. Look at this. Hips moving laterally. They have to go through the wall. Through the wall. And then they can turn. This motion is not a 1-2 type of motion. It's not like I want you going out there working lateral then turning. I want you to combine the motions by chucking the watermelon or the basketball, whatever it is, toward the target. It combines the two motions. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand here, is that it's not us picking apart the downswing and doing a bunch of positions. No, we're just doing one simple motion of throwing a ball underhand toward a target that can get you doing this without thinking about it. That's nice. All right, here we go with Justin Thomas. He's a bit of an exception, but he does something unique in his swing. You'll notice that his hips are here. He's a two-plane shifter, so we're going to see the club. We're going to see him automatically shift off the ball here a little bit. See the butt moving off the wall. But even somebody that shifts like that still has to move back to where they started. So he shifted, but he got to get back. Because if he didn't, he'd have inconsistencies. He's somebody that has to turn a ton because he lifts the club way up in the air. So he's got a lot more turn than lateral motion. You figure somebody that lifts will have to turn more. Somebody that takes the club around will need more lateral. It's easier to do the lateral. Puts a lot of strain on your back if you do all that kind of turning and torquing. But nonetheless, still moving his hips through the wall. Another legend here, Sam Snead. He makes this easy because he's got that straight line relationship between his front side, his left side. Here we go. Top of backswing. Where the hip's going to go. Automatically moving through the wall. There we go. And then they turn. You've got to go through the wall and then turn. Chuck the watermelon. Rory McIlroy. Watch the hips go through the wall. One of my favorites. So we're looking at a few inches of hip movement toward the target, and then the turn happens. So this is a consistent move players are doing. And they're not breaking it into two motions. They don't think lateral and then turn. They think chuck the watermelon. Of course, I don't know exactly what's in their heads. I'm not a mind reader. But I know that if you chuck the watermelon, you can get all this to happen naturally. Everybody has different degrees of lateral movement toward the target. But they all start lateral and turn. They all chuck the watermelon. That's what I want you to do in your golf swing. Lastly, we'll use my favorite example, Charlie Wee. Top backswing, automatically start moving lateral toward the target, pushing off the ground for power. Once again, can see this lateral motion through there. And then the turn. Chuck the watermelon for victory. Seguto golfers, I think we've got a game plan for your downswing. What do you think? Go out there and try chucking the watermelon. It's a great way to practice. If you want to feel your entire body working together properly in the golf swing, chuck a watermelon. The weight of the watermelon, or the weight of a bowling ball, the weight of a basketball, envisioning that weight and taking it back and through, puts you in all the right positions. Instead of spending a lot of time thinking about working on moves like doing the whole Justin Rose thing where you gotta do the big sit-down squat. Stop doing that stuff. Just go out and hit it. It's really intuitive. Golf is very intuitive. It's just that humans make it hard, like I said earlier. We make the game so dang difficult. No, it's a lot simpler. Just throw a watermelon. Thanks again for tuning in this evening. And if you're looking for a simplified way to learn the golf swing, check out Saguto.golf. I'll show you a step-by-step system to play better golf, broken down in simple 3 to 5 minute videos, step by step, no guesswork. It's not random. It's a program designed to get you from foundation to finish, getting you to play your best golf right now in a simple $10 a month program. For the price of a Starbucks coffee, y'all, you could play your best golf. I want to see every golfer in the world playing their best golf right now. I'll see you on the range. Have an awesome weekend.